Shalom, everybody. Rob Vanoff here with TelosTorah. Going to do a short meditation on a passage from this week's Torah portion, Vayechi, and just to open up, like I did on another video on the Rob on the Rock channel, Psalm 119:97. This is the first verse. Remember, 119 is an acrostic poem, and Mem is the 13th letter. So verse 97 is the first of the 13th set of 8. So we have the first 12 letters, each having 8, gets us to 96. Verse 97 that's why the NASB here says Mem. It's the first of Mem. Ma ahavti toratecha, how I have loved your Torah. Kol hayom hi sichati, all the day she, or the Torah, sichati, my meditation, my conversation, my rumination. I love that. Can we all say that? Is there any believer in Yeshua who would not say that? Well, let's look at a passage, just 2 verses here from chapter 48. Now, our Torah portion is Vayechi, which is the last Torah portion in the book of Genesis. It extends from the end of 47 all the way through Genesis 50. And we're going to read just 2 verses here in the Hebrew from Genesis 48, verses 10 and 11. For those who've done some Hebrew, I think maybe you'll be able to see some things at work here and recognize them. So verse 48, 10. Ve'enei Yisrael. So enei Yisrael, the eyes of Israel. So enei, remember enayim, it's a dual. This is a construct form. Enei Yisrael. Eyes of Israel. Kavdu. Kavdu. There we go. This is a stative verb. Kaved. To be heavy. So you could say they were heavy. Now they translate here, they were dim. Ve'enei Yisrael kavdu mizoken. Mizoken. Now, you know, zaken is a word to be old, but zoken is a noun it means from age. Literally, min, from, zoken, age, mizoken. So, ve'enei Yisrael kavdu mizoken. They were heavy from age. Lo yuchal lirot. He was not able to see. Lo yuchal lirot. This is what we call an infinitive construct from the verb ra'ah, to see. Vayagesh otam elav. And so this is, and Israel drew them to himself. Vayagesh otam. Who are it's the 2 boys, Ephraim and Manasseh. Now you see the NASB here says Joseph brought them close to him. Technically, the Hebrew doesn't tell us who the subject of the verb vayagesh is, but it's, and he brought them near. He brought near them, otam, elav, to him. Vayishak lahem, and he kissed them. I love this. Vayishak lahem, vaychabech lahem, and he kissed them and he hugged them. So this is you think of a grandfather and 2 grandsons, and he brought them near to himself. Or it's possible, like I said, that because the Torah doesn't tell us exactly who was the subject of the verb he brought near. It could be like the NASB decides in their interpretation, Joseph did it. But I love this. And he kissed them and he hugged them. Clearly, it has to be Jacob, this. That's my reading, even though we're not. And he kissed them. It means Jacob kissed Ephraim and Manasseh. Vaychabek lahem, and he hugged them. Again, who's the he and who's the they? Jacob and the 2 boys. Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef, and Israel said to Joseph. Now we've seen before, Vayomer Yaakov el Yosef. And Jacob said to Joseph, here we see, Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef. Israel said to Joseph, and this is just wonderful here, what we'll look at today. Re'o fanecha lo pilalti. Re'o fanecha, which re'o is, this is an infinitive here, to see your face, fanecha, to see your face, lo pilalti. I did not pilal. Now we have to say, what is this pilel here? It's where we get the verb to judge. The hitpalel is also to pray. In the active PL voice, it's to judge. Pilalti. But it can mean secondarily, or maybe even more primarily, I didn't plan. I didn't anticipate or suppose. The Aramaic Targum here uses the root savar, which is I did not hope in it. So the Aramaic interprets it to see your face. I did not hope. I didn't hope to see your face. That interpretation makes sense, because we can say, well, if for 20 years Jacob thought Joseph was dead, so of course he wouldn't hope. Pilalti, could it be hinting at prayer? Like, I did not even pray. So that would be like hope, but in a like an expectant, prayerful manner before God. I did not judge, meaning I did not reckon or even think it as a possibility. I did not fathom. The thought didn't even enter my mind that to see your face. Vehine, and behold, hir'a oti Elohim gam et zarecha. And behold, God has shown me all your seed also, your offspring also, meaning Ephraim and Manasseh. So the Septuagint takes this, I was not, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like, I was not, like to see your face, I have not been deprived, or something like that. So it's like, reads it as a passive voice, saying that this is a good thing. Like, I was not prevented from seeing your face, which is a celebratory. But the Hebrew actually has it in an active voice, pilalti. And so I take it more, like we see here in the NSB, expected. But it's not just like, you could expect a lot of things. We have to identify with the story. And remember, for 20 years, Jacob was, in a way, always mourning the loss of Joseph, because he thought that he had been killed by wild animals. And he was extra protective over Benjamin. Benjamin was all he had left from the love of his life, Rachel. Joseph was gone. And he had a difficult time for 20 years. Why would he have ever imagined to see Joseph again? But yet, behold, not only have I, hir'a oti Elohim gam et zarecha. God has also shown me your offspring. I just love that passage, because this is, if we imagine for a moment being in Jacob's shoes, that this is the transformation of his person must have just been almost otherworldly. If you imagine his great mourning and grief from end of chapter 37, learning of, well, quote, he was lied to, right? Quote, learning of Joseph's death, horrible death in his eyes. He saw the blood. He thought this was the coat that he had made and given to Joseph had blood all over it. Okay, that's an event you're never going to forget if you're Jacob. That image is going to, it's horrific. And we know where his imagination went with it. He's been torn. He's been torn apart. I mean, what did that do to his heart? And so when we, like it says, Ma'ahavti Toratecha, Kol Hayom Ki Sichati, how I love your law, how I love your Torah. It is my meditation all the day. Part of that means we stop and we put away the distractions and we read the text. And it doesn't have to be in Hebrew. You can read it in English or whatever language you have. And you seek to identify and track. Be a careful reader. Be an attentive reader. That means we have to invest our thoughts. We have to invest our imaginations. We have to invest our attention and focus into not just the word we're looking at or the sentence or phrase, but we're attentive readers of the whole tapestry of threads that the Lord is weaving together by the Holy Spirit at the hand of Moses to preserve this for us and appreciate its beauty, its wonder, its awe, and to see the truth of the matter. And here, Jacob had a transformation indeed that was wonderful. He couldn't have imagined to ever see Joseph again. That was the horizon, of Jacob looking forward. Even though God said he would be fruitful, he must have just thought, well, that fruitfulness must be going to be through these other boys. Even though I love Joseph so much, I guess I just have to adjust my expectations to what God has permitted and God's mysterious plan. And here he's now, not only does he see Joseph, and not only is Joseph like Pharaoh in Egypt, but there is salvation for all his family in the time of famine. There is Joseph's own children that Jacob gets to see. And like it says, and he kissed them and he hugged them. I love that. What do you think Jacob is feeling? Jacob reflecting on his life, the difficulties with his brother Esau, the difficulties that was in the land, and then up in a foreign land in Padan Aram, the difficulties with his father-in-law Laban, and then the difficulties when he returns to the promised land with, what did Simeon and Levi do with the Shechemites? Remember, what about their brother? What about Dinah and their sister? And what about the difficulties just the great despair and heartache about the belief in the loss of Joseph? So that's who Jacob is, who's limping, right? Ever since it says the man or the angel that wrestled with him, he's been limping his whole life since then. And here, not only is he seeing Joseph, but he is able to kiss and hug Joseph's two kids. I think that's awesome. What's he feeling? What's Jacob feeling? And how does he rewrite his story now? Because a lot of the stuff he told himself for the last 20 years is not true anymore. And the stuff that happened before that with Laban, that's just long gone. Because right now, Joseph's alive, and Joseph has these two sons, and Jacob says, they're mine. he claims him as his own. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And this is so wonderful that the Holy Spirit insisted that this be part of what Moshe wrote down for us in the Torah. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in. A big Shabbat Shalom to all of you. And Lord willing, next week we start with Torah portion Shemot, the book of Exodus. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek.